This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com. I'm live here, 12:50 a.m. back from the gym with a daily wrestling news update for you. I just want to go over the facts of this Saudi Arabia show, the facts that we know. There was 175 WWE people that had their flights delayed 24 to 30 hours. And two of these flights supposedly had mechanical issues. Normally, a mechanical issue won't delay you 25 to 30 hours. And there's other options in those cases, but other options weren't taken. There was absolutely, without question, according to the Wrestling Observer and other sources, a late payment by Saudi Arabia to WWE. And there was also a stream delay with the WWE Crown Jewel 2019 stream in Saudi Arabia. There was a meeting at 3 p.m. before the Raw taping today where WWE downplayed any issues with the Saudi Arabians. And Seth Rollins, the guy that everybody hates on social media, and from what I'm reading, he sounds like a real geek, came up and tried to do a little speech there, rallying the troops and telling wrestlers to not post so much on social media, because a lot of the wrestlers complained about the delays on social media. And Carl Anderson's wife, I guess, speculated that the wrestlers were being held there. And a lot of people believe they were being held there in pawns with this Saudi Arabian deal, which, by the way, they've now announced also today that this Saudi Arabian deal that was supposed to end in 2027 has now been extended to 2030. So here's what I know about these Saudi Arabia people. The human rights situation there is horrible. And also, I receive a lot of hate mail here on a daily basis, but I did one video about the girls match where they had to basically abide by Saudi Arabian laws, I guess. And it was a horrible match anyways, just by the fact that they're laughing the whole time and smiling. It wasn't a believable match. There was no interest. It seemed like they were just doing the match for the sake of doing the match. But I had a lot of hate mail from Saudi Arabia people there. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of fucked up, crazy people there, judging by the hate mail I got by just stating some facts that I reported about some of the laws they have there. Thanks for all the comments, you guys. Devious One says, how's it going? Hey, Michael Archibald, what's up? If they can get anyone back over there to Saudi Arabia, you're saying, because a lot of the wrestlers said never again, but it's all about money. Money is the name of the game, and wrestlers like making money. People will go over there. It is a scary place. There was something fishy that happened there for sure, but I'm really sick of hearing about Saudi Arabia. I'm against that deal just because it seems like a really shady place to do business. And I think no matter what, this whole thing with Saudi Arabia is only going to hurt the interest in WWE in the end. I saw the Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar video on SmackDown from that show. It was a short match, basically a squash match for Lesnar. I had no problems with that match because there wasn't anything too phony looking. It looked like a pretty believable match. The Tyson Fury match, I actually looked up on YouTube, and it was really bad. And you can tell he's not trained as a wrestler, and they went an extended period of time. And I don't know why they do that other than for the money that I guess Saudi Arabia paid them and they wanted Tyson Fury. But putting these non-wrestlers in the ring with limited training is not interesting. It's actually terrible. It turns me off from wanting to watch wrestling. Oh, and one other fact about the Saudi Arabia, there were military police around the flights were being delayed. Some people say that the flights were being held, such as Hugo Savinovich, who left me a message yesterday, which I posted on here, regarding what he'd heard from a WWE executive talking to him on the phone. So whatever. You guys decide. I don't even want to hear about Saudi Arabia for a while. Richard Slater says, I don't care if they paid me in gold. I wouldn't go to that country for 1 second. I wouldn't really want to go there either. Like, man, definitely not as a vacation. If someone paid me a huge amount of money, well, maybe not after the threatening emails I've received and messages, but anyways, in other news, Tom Lawler, who I've wrestled and defeated, it's on the Hannibal TV. He's been with MLW. He said that he has not re-signed with MLW, contrary to popular belief. He also wants to fight in MMA again, but I guess he's not re-signed. So he could potentially still sign with AEW or another company. He's a good wrestler, good technician, tough guy. I have a lot of respect for him. I also did a shoot interview with him that you guys could look up on here. The doctor who stopped the George Masvidal versus Nate Diaz fight at MSG this past weekend that The Rock was involved with is getting a lot of hate mail, according to reports. But he did stop it due to some pretty severe cuts on Diaz's eye. And that's a big show. If you screw up your physician call on a big show like that, you could get in severe trouble. And I actually agree with him that the cuts were bad. And I believe that Masvidal would have won at that point anyways, if it had continued on. In other MMA news, I did an interview with Jack Swagger's opponent again today on Skype, Anthony Garrett, and he's insisting that it was the doctor that stopped his fight. The last of the, some people say 2, some people say 3 times that Garrett was hit in the groin. He says, contrary to popular belief, the thing that Jack Swagger and others are trying to spread around, he did not want the fight stopped. He was not given the option of the 5-minute rest period. The doctor stopped the fight, and he wants a rematch with Swagger. Swagger said going into that fight, he was very nervous about the outcome now that he has a big AEW contract. So we'll see if a rematch happens, but I believe it'll be unlikely because it seems like they're trying to sweep that fight under the rug. Also in MMA news, the Hannibal TV is going to be posting clips from the MMA Power Hour, which is a popular MMA show that have UFC fighters on it. We're getting a lot more MMA followers. I'm no MMA expert, so I'm happy about getting some content from them. I'm definitely a bigger MMA fan than wrestling fan, if you talk about TV products, for sure. And finally, I am going to comment on the Just Incredible interview. It is posted in full now on our patreon.com/the Hannibal TV channel for people that want to actually support this channel. I got another interview coming up in a few weeks with Hillbilly Jim, and 3 interviews coming up at the end of the month with Shane Douglas, Billy Jack Haynes, and Snitsky. So a lot of interviews coming up. They're all going to be posted on patreon.com/the Hannibal TV. First, I'll also be interviewing Sabu in January and Juventud Guerrera in December. Juventud Guerrera is going to be wrestling the Blood Hunter at a CWE Canada event in Ottawa that the Hannibal TV is recording December 6th. More info on that at thehannibaltv.com. But back to the Just Incredible interview. Why is there a woman's voice doing the interview? Why did she say next instead of NXT for all the idiots out there that are complaining about that? Well, what does NXT stand for? Let's start with that. Next, the next generation of WWE stars. But here's what happened. I was originally supposed to interview Buff Bagwell, Shane Douglas, and who's the third? Just Incredible. At this Messina Fight for the Mind event that we were also supposed to take for the Hannibal TV, but this loser scumbag promoter, what the hell is his name? Shooter Storm is his wrestling name. Sean Balbin or something else is his shoot name. He canceled the show after telling me the day before and telling Bagwell and all the other wrestlers who I had been in contact with that the show was going on 100%. He cancels it the day before the show. He talked to us 2 days before saying it was 100% going on. He cancels it. I had bought 2 non-refundable hotel rooms because it was $10 cheaper for the Friday and the Saturday night to go to Messina, New York, because I was shooting interviews in the hotel room. We wanted to get there the night before. There was a camera crew going as well. This idiot ends up canceling the show. So I was going to lose the money on the hotel rooms. I don't think I'm getting the interviews. I take a shift for my regular job. On the Saturday, we were supposed to be shooting that interview. Therefore, I could not get out of the shift when Just Incredible tells me that he really needs the money. He had turned down a booking to accept this booking from this scumbag slimeball promoter that canceled the booking. And he would appreciate it if he could still get the shoot interview booking. And we also wanted a shoot interview. So I could not go. I couldn't get anyone to take my shift, which I had accepted. And I do work a normal job. This is not my full-time job. So I sent my girlfriend in my place with my questions. She is not a wrestling fan. She read the questions. She did a great job. And Just Incredible gave great answers. So there's the whole story on that for the idiots that keep writing comments, which, by the way, most of you I'm blocking because I get hundreds of comments on YouTube a day. And I don't have time for fucking morons saying, oh, she called it next. It's NXT. You guys are fucking pathetic. By the way, Just Incredible knew what she was talking about. I'll ask a couple questions. Alexander Ramos, Juvie, I know he had a lot of heat back when he was in WCW. Yes, that's going to be a good question to ask him. Buff Bagwell wouldn't have given a great interview like Just Incredible. Well, I am still going to do an interview with Bagwell. I actually would say we talked on the phone numerous times. And it's funny because before this piece of crap canceled the show, he was going to do a phone interview with me. And he said, let's give it another day before I do the phone interview with you. And then another day happened and this piece of crap canceled the show. So yeah. Couple other questions. That Just Incredible interview is legit. Have I ever interviewed The Undertaker? Brandon Archer says, well, no, he works for WWE. They won't let me interview their wrestlers. I did wrestle him once before a WWE SmackDown taping in January 2005 in Montreal, which, even though it was just a practice match that went on for like 20 minutes, is one of the highlights of my wrestling career. It was amazing. Jay Kim says, WWE buried Buff. Yes, I agree. Couple other questions. I remember Buff's mom was a tag team champion with Rick Steiner in WCW, and I believe Vince Russo was booking that day. Doug Wynn says, ask him about the documentary being done called Credible. Well, we did ask him that. And by the way, from what I understand, he still has, unfortunately, alcohol issues, and so does his wife. So I hope that they can get it sorted out because I guess they also have a 13-year-old son. So I really hope, for the sake of that son, that they can get their problems sorted out because that kid is still a kid. He needs a good life and he needs good role models. Chad Thomas says, why don't WWE wrestlers form a union? They never, ever will. I promise you that. Because the top ones, like the Lesners of the world and the Seth Rollins of the world, making millions of dollars are never going to agree to it, and the other ones are replaceable. Will I do more alien abduction, ghost, supernatural interviews? The Serial Fisher says yes. I am obsessed with UFO related stuff. I research it every day, and I'm obsessed. I'm actually staying in a haunted house in January for 3 nights, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm not doing that for the purposes of an interview, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll give a report if anything happens in that haunted house. I should get Buff's mom when I interview Buff, someone says. That would be funny. Alexander Ramos, am I going to wrestle a ghost in a haunted house? No, but I am going to try and activate it. That is for sure. Can I interview John Hackelman? Who is John Hackelman? I don't know. I am going to be in Albany doing interviews mid-November, Philadelphia, that shithole, late November. And by the way, I would have wrestled in Philadelphia when we started this, before I really said Hannibal's never going to wrestle again for the millionth time. But Tommy Dreamer didn't want me on his show. So I was suggesting let us settle this feud with Billy Jack Haynes rather than do some RF video shoot interview where nothing's going to be settled. But by the way, I'm also doing my own interview with Billy Jack. What would be my dream interview? Jesse Ventura, it's going to happen soon, and many more. And oh yeah, but Philadelphia is November. Someone is, where else am I going? LA in January. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming up. Oh, Josh Morgan, who's one of my favorite interviews I've done? This will be the last question, and that is such a tough one. I don't even know if I could put my finger on it, what my favorite interview would be. What's some of your favorite interviews? Philadelphia, someone comments. That's funny. My favorite interview, God. Fuck. I have to answer. Dan Gable. Dan Gable is my favorite interview I ever did because he's the person that I have the most respect for that I've interviewed. But there's a lot of them. Sid was good, as Richard says, because Sid and I are buddies. He's going to be in Philadelphia too. I'll try and get something with him while I'm there. Too Cold Scorpio, another guy says, I'm sure I'll do another one with Scorpio. Superstar Billy Graham and Marty Jannetty, Party Jannetty, Kane says, yeah, those are two of the best. I'm going to try and get Billy Graham again. He's posting, by the way, on his Facebook again since his heart attack. And he posted something today. Someone had commented something about like the style is different today. They don't need big guys. And Billy responded to that saying they can't even sell out Madison Square Garden. They're getting their lowest TV taping attendance ever in Madison Square Garden. But when Billy was selling out Madison Square Garden, they had 22,000 in Madison Square Garden, plus 3,000 or 4,000 in the Felt Forum. But yeah, he's been cranky, by the way, since he's been back posting again. Is Sid really 6'9"? He's really tall. Have I ever seen a UFO or paranormal? J. Kim. Yes, I've never seen a UFO. I hope to one day. Paranormal, I've told this story before. Look it up. I lived in a house that was haunted when I first moved to Calgary. And I didn't believe in ghosts until then, when I actually had paranormal experiences that were 100% impossible to have happened otherwise, which I'm not going to get into the details of that here because I got to get going here. Lunar Forces, Waylon Mercy's name is Dan Spivey. Yes, and that was an interesting interview. I'm going to hopefully interview him again. Can I interview New Jack? Chad Thomas says, sure, I want to interview New Jack, actually. I just haven't run into him. I only met him once, and he was very polite. Bret Hart doesn't want to do an interview with me for the guy asking that. So tweet Bret Hart to do an interview with me. People that want to see that, because Ross Hart, his brother, also wanted to see that. And he told his brother, no, he wouldn't do one with me. Nails would be a great shoot, someone says, and he's on my list. I'm going to be going to Minnesota soon, next year, hopefully, and I'll hopefully get Nails, the Berserker, Jesse Ventura, and others. So, I'll also be in Tampa WrestleMania weekend, and Bill Apter is going to be representing the Hannibal TV, which I'm sure he's going to do a wonderful job. Oh, Comic Mike, I will answer this. When are you going to interview Ric Flair? Okay. I met Ric Flair numerous times when I was having WWE extra jobs. All it was handshakes. I did a training camp with him at Harley Race's wrestling school, where he told me after that training camp that he was recommending 4 guys to NXT, and I was one of the 4. Nothing ever came out of his recommendation, but Gerald Briscoe had also recommended me to NXT, and nothing came out of that. So I don't doubt that Flair probably recommended me. But last year at the Rhode Island Comic Con, Ric Flair and his wife were sitting at a booth, and there was literally no lineup whatsoever at this time of day that I was there. And I approached him, literally nobody around, and I asked him if I could do like a 2-minute interview. I told him I was a big fan, and he told me no, he wouldn't. So I still like him, no problem, whatever. But it was just, there was nobody there. Like, give me a 2 or 5-minute interview. Like, I'm a huge, massive fan of yours, but no, he told me no. Am I going to be in Rhode Island anytime soon? Not this year. What do I? Oh man, there's too many questions. Sorry, but someone's mentioning the Lashley thing. Raw did a terrible rating last week with that whole Lashley angle, and apparently he's uncomfortable with it, because I heard someone called in to the Wrestling Observer radio show saying Lashley was on a radio show in Denver, and before they went to the commercial, he was asked about that Rusev thing with Lana. And then I guess during the commercial, he made up an excuse and left and didn't come back on the radio show after the commercial. He was doing some publicity for WWE. So obviously he's not that comfortable with it. Rusev, my God, man, I don't respect you as a man. Unless you're getting paid $10 million, I don't respect you as a man for doing that angle with your wife. And I will close on that.